Welcome, everybody. As it is a tradition in all of our events, we're going to start with a prayer. I invoke the name of the Father, the Son, and the Holy Spirit, the creator of all that is seen and unseen. Father God, we come before you in gratitude. Thank you for our health, the peace that's prevailing in our country, and our loved ones. Father, in the memory of our Lord Jesus Christ, we ask that you forgive us and forgive all of mankind for the indifference towards the suffering of our fellow man, for the negligence in the care of the innocent and our most vulnerable, for the carelessness in the use of your gifts, our talents, and our environment. Father, we come before you and we ask that your Holy Spirit prevail in this place so that our conversations will be filled with your truth and your love, and that our actions will be the choice of your righteousness and the just. Fill us with the wisdom to discern the difference. Ta mai wala watu mo puipuinga o matou umalava. Ine o matou foiatu o matou ainga malimanuia. We ask this in the name of our Lord Jesus Christ. Amen.
In the best-selling book, Why Nations Fail, luminaries of economics and political science insightfully illustrate the interdependence of a nation's government and its economy. In case after case, the poorest countries in the world are shown to be the most corrupt, and conversely, the richest countries are the least corrupt. The island of Korea highlights this dichotomy amongst the homogeneous people. North and South Koreans are essentially the same in terms of ancestry, language, and culture. Yet, North Koreans are some of the poorest people on earth, while their brothers and sisters to the south are among the richest. Why the vast economic disparity? The authors show that South Koreans had forged a democratic government which created incentives, rewarded innovation, and allowed everyone to participate in economic opportunities. Their subsequent economic development and success were sustained because of their government leaders, who were accountable and responsive to the people of South Korea. Tragically, the people of North Korea have had to endure decades of political repression and abject poverty. The lesson for us today, those of us who are striving for economic development, is that the opposite trajectories of the two Koreas are directly connected to their differences in politics, one being authoritarian and the other democratic. On November 3rd, the people of American Samoa will have the opportunity to affect the trajectory of our own island territory by electing our most influential political leaders, our governor and lieutenant governor. Given our shared interest in the economic development and success of our beloved American Samoa, the Chamber of Commerce is pleased to welcome these honorable gubernatorial candidates to Talk Business Forum. Please help me welcome I'aulualo Fafetai Talia and Tapa'au Dr. Mangeo Anga. Please help me welcome Senator Nua Nua Olefeangainga Sauluanga Nua and Tapu Manaya Ngalu Satele Jr.
smiles of love. Oh,
Wow, can we get a pick-me-up on that music, DJ? And last but not least, Le Manu Palepoi Sialenga Maunga, Lieutenant Governor of American Samoa and Talawenga Eleasalo Va'alele Ale.
people from the sun. We are Samoa, and our
Thank you.
heritage lives on.
For your information, we did invite the esteemed gubernatorial team of Ngau Te Ote and Whaiwai. However, they opted not to attend nor participate in today's forum. My name is Luisa Letulingasanoa Su'esue Kwaya. I am the Vice Chair of the American Samoa Chamber of Commerce and your host for this Let's Talk Business Forum. On behalf of the Chamber Board of Directors, we welcome and recognize you, the business owners of American Samoa, you who provide so much of the lifeblood to our economy. We are all deeply concerned about our island's economy and keenly interested in the potential plans of these candidates to bolster its development. We thank each of you for your attendance, contributions, and participation today. The Chamber recognizes that this evening could not be possible without our sponsors. Bluesky is a valued member and is co-sponsoring this event with the Chamber of Commerce. Bluesky will broadcast Let's Talk Business on Moana TV in the upcoming weeks. Due to our sponsorship agreements, we ask that our audience members refrain from recording any video footage and posting live on your social media accounts. This event is being recorded and will be broadcasted at a later time. At the conclusion of this event, you may gather and take as many photos as you'd like. We also thank All Star Signs, JPS, KS Smart, Manu'a's Inc., Morris Scanlon Gas Station, Cloud Solutions, and Pango Pango Trading Company. Thank you, sponsors. Our moderators for this evening are first, Mr. William Enna Spitzenberg, also known as Coach Will. He is a proud alumnus of Whangaitua High School and was the co-valedictorian of ASCC's class of 1996. He is the Chief Water Engineer for ASPA and co-founder of SSY, Slimmer, Stronger You. He and his wife, Cece Loyan, have 6 beautiful children. Thank you, Will. Welcome. Mrs. Lydia Faleafine Nomura is a proud alumna of Leone High School and Yale University. She has served in various capacities for the American Samoa government and is currently the field representative for the U.S. Department of Interior. Lydia and her husband Peter H. Nomura are the parents of 3 beautiful daughters. Thank you, Lydia. Ladies and gentlemen, there are seats up here if you'd like to make your way up. Mr. John Rayner is the host of 93 KHJ's Samoan Sunrise. He is a former president of the Rotary Club of Pango Pango and currently serves on the board of directors at South Pacific Academy. John and his wife Alice are the parents of 4 wonderful children. Thank you for being here, John. And perhaps our most important role for the evening is our timekeeper. Mr. Va'a Tofayono is the founder of the American Samoa Community Cancer Coalition that has helped to reduce the cancer burden on island for the last 15 years. He organized the first TEDx Pango Pango event in this auditorium, and he attributes his success to his faith and the love and support of his wife, daughter, and family. Thank you. Now I would like to turn the time over to our Chamber Secretary, Thomas, aka Bucky Jones, to explain tonight's format.
Thank you, Vice Chairwoman. I'd like to thank the candidates, the moderators, and our timekeeper. Without this event, this wouldn't be happening. The forum tonight is going to be approximately 2 hours long. It's going to consist of 6 15-minute segments. Each one of those segments is going to have a topic devoted to it. The topics will be pulled at random. The candidates do not know and the moderators do not know what those topics are going to be before time. So those topics could be taxation, economic development, national emergencies, reliance on federal aid, the procurement process and fair bidding, education and workforce readiness, healthcare, tourism industry, the agricultural industry, including the legalization of hemp, the technology industry, and the fishing industry. Each segment will begin with a question being asked of each candidate. The candidates will have 2 minutes to respond, and then they will have a chance, the other candidates will have a chance to rebut. There will be no limitation on rebuttals. So these time restrictions are going to be strictly enforced because we want to get through a lot of questions. Our hope for tonight is that everyone will have a respectful discussion of the candidates' policies so that we can all make an informed decision this November. I would again like to thank everyone for their attendance in making this event happen.
Thanks, Bucky. To our honorable candidates, I say on behalf of all our chamber members and business owners that we sincerely hope to build a symbiotic relationship with our next governor and lieutenant governor. We are therefore excited to learn more about each of you as we consider that most consequential decision of who to vote for on November 3rd. We will now turn the time over to the candidates to introduce themselves. We will start first with table number 1, Ia Ulualo and Tapa'au.
First of all, I know the English language is the most preferred language for this gathering, but I like to ask to please indulge me for a few minutes so I can say a few words in Samoan. Ile paia male mamalu le atunu, yo paia Samoa o te fa nunu atu. La le ngafatauli mina se upule nei afiafi ona le nei fa moe. Au te whātalo whātu le pa ia ma le mamalu le atunuu, ia i lau whāwhonganga, ia mai se foi le tāpua inga Amerika Samoa, ma mai se foi le tāpua inga tu muampule. Tā lofa lava. Ladies and gentlemen, my name is Ia Ulualo Fa'aftaitalia, and a candidate for Governor of American Samoa. Ladies and gentlemen, the public deserves a clear explanation of the candidate's stance on where they plan to take the territory in the next 4 years. Most critically, they need to know the policy that will bring those plans to reality. As the late President Calvin Coolidge said, America business is business. What he meant was that America is a strong and a competitive nation because of the vitality of the private sector. In other words, government must cultivate a fertile business terrain that supports existing businesses and startups and enhance their probability of success. With that support, businesses will produce needed goods and services, create jobs, generate revenues, and become an integral part of the community. In our case, a hybrid economic system can be formulated that reflects our own unique situations and its inherent constraints. Given our fragile economic conditions, the public sector plays even more pivotal role. The federal government is the elephant in the room in our economy. Building economic strategies and establishing benchmarks must take this into account. It is important that, unlike the past, these efforts include the private sector as early in the process as possible. Uncle Sam's help is essential in our journey towards self-reliance, and I'm grateful to Uncle Sam for the assistance over the years. Our greatest way to return our appreciation to Uncle Sam is to attain, in real terms, self-reliance for our economic system. Please know that Tapa'au and I are totally on board with and will commit to implementing meaningful and reasonable measures and resources to support the expansion of our local economy. And this will be done with robust invigorations of the private sector and input from all of you. Today's theme is Let's Talk Business. I fully concur, and I will add, let's do business for the sake of the future. Thank you.
Thank you. So I neglected to tell the candidates, they know, that they have 3 minutes to introduce themselves. So we will turn the time over to Nua and Satele.
Whaftai le saunanga na whiunga ai. Whaftai fo i le President Chamber of Commerce mo le awanoa. Ua palawina ai le malo. Ina iau mai tata noa le tūlanga o business. Whaftai le tua ua tātou maua nei a wanoa le lei. Tātou te whilo iai ono o manatu ma whauwhaunga whelawsai. Ono o tūlanga o le atinae o tamau ainga o tātou malo. Ladies and gentlemen, friends, thank you, Chamber of Commerce, for organizing this event. I would like to acknowledge the challenges and struggles of the business community during the past years. Some people have said that business have been very successful with the food stamps program, stimulus money, tax return, and other sources of funding. But I have heard from many business owners that the COVID-19 pandemic and the declaration have had negative impact on their business. Yes, I am here to share my position on the topics you have chosen. But I want to let you know government and the business community can improve their relationship. There is always a need to strengthen our relationship. That is why I am here today, to extend my humble assurance. We want to first hear from the business community, and second, we ask for your trust to work with the government. Work with us and help us understand how government has been trying to grow new business. We are not doing a great job, so maybe you can help government understand what will take to make your business successfully. When your business grows, our economy grows. Everyone will enjoy the success. It will be a win-win situation for our territory.
Thank you, Senator Nua. We'll turn the time over to Lemanu and Talawenga.
Wa maurunga ia maua malesunga loia to whaia Talawenga. Le nei aso i le whaafonga anga ma sila si o tātou atinu. Ma te whatulou ma whawhelo e atu le malu le au whenga luenga. Ma te whatulou ma whawhelo e atu le pai o le atinu. Ma te whatulou ma whawhelo e atu le pai o le whainga malo tuila manu o molhenga. A meise le tāpua inga malu ia te oe Samoa le usonga. Whawhelo e atu le malu o le au fia i le nei whaatsinga. Le malu o le au whai pisinisi. A meise le mamalu i le a fio atu o sa fionga i sui tau wā. E malo sin mātai tununga ma le sunga le loia. O se malo e tau tai e tangata, pūlea tangata, ma se whainga malo mo tangata uma. O mātai tonu il whaatemkarasi, sapsapai atu langa le lei mo tangata uma. O le a whawau pia o na tuputupu Amerika Samoa. Ma suinga e mana umiai o na sirisila to ai le malo, a meise lau whai pisinisi. Ia wala so I fua le iai si o tātou atanu. A wā le ngaluenga e whai whātasi. E tatau ia Amerika Samoa na laulunga pea le whiangai masuinga o le lalolangi. Manui ai le atanu ia e meise le tūmawina o le mātango fie. Matatonu le atina enga o pisinisi la iti. I to tonu le atanu. E au fia ai vaenga la iti e pei o veterani. Tūpulanga talavou, tina matamaitai. La tau e iei mana o ngā whaapitoa. Ma tina matua, ta mā matua. O le tele o le sila fia matalaanga ese o tangata. O le tele fo I leo ta mau ainga malanga manuia ese. Ma te talitonu I se atanu. Whaatau waina le atina enga. O pisinisi la iti. Fausia mai ainga aluenga fau. O mai loa mana ongo le atanu. I lona soifuanga. Lona sio manga. Ai mai se le ngā alua inga o ta mau ainga. O ma sauni e sapsapaia. Ma whaolaola pisinisi. A wā se manuia lau tele o si o tātou atanu. O leo pumoni. O ma sauni e tautai lo tātou sā. Amerika Samoa. Pa au tusi au ia le manu matalauenga ia November. Lona so tolu. O ina e loa ai le whatutua o au auna o lo iai maua. Manuia le whasausaunga si o tātou atanu. Manuia le mamalo le au fia. Manuia le suatu o sunga I sui tau wā. Ia e meise le whamumola au whai pisinisi. Whaftai.
Thank you to our gubernatorial candidates. We are going to begin our Q&A forum. Just to inform our candidates, that large clock next to the timekeeper will be taking the segments, so 15 minutes per segment. And Va'a will be raising his yellow card. Can you show him that? 1 minute when you have 1 minute left on your responses, and then the red card when it's time's up. So please be mindful of the cards and take it away. John?
All right, thank you very much, Luisa. Also, for our technical team back there, I heard some issues with the LT's mic. It was popping. So I don't know if their team can get a different microphone, but it was cutting in and out. Okay, without further ado, these are the questions here, and this first segment will be dedicated to one of the different topics that is in here, of which there are 10. So I'm going to go ahead and open this box. And our first topic of discussion will be the technology industry development. So that is going to be our focus for segment number 1, technology industry development. Now, tonight's forum, we will move from left of the stage to the right of the stage. So, Ia Ulualo and Tapa'au, we will start with you. And technology. Your first question tonight is on the technology industry. The world is constantly improving through major technological advances. American Samoa has acquired the Hawaii cable, but is unable to fully utilize its potential due to a lack of technological development. What technological developments are you willing to help push to help bring American Samoa up to speed? And Ialoalo and Tapa'au, this is your first question, and you have 2 minutes to respond.
Thanks for the question, John, and I'm glad that I have the chance to see who you are, because I always see her. Anyway, so technology is, to us, is the key industry that we need to really seriously looking at it. We have all the infrastructure connected here in American Samoa. So we need to build the economy based on technology. And to be honest with you, we need to get right to the top, and we need to bring $1 billion industry to connect it to the Waikiki cable and to monetize the cable and the capacity that we have. We need to build a data center. That's what we need to do.
Ialoalo, if I could ask, do you feel that we've embraced that Hawaii cable so far since we've had it here with a high-speed internet between Azteca and what Bluesky's been doing?
What was that, Joe?
Do you think that we've embraced the high-speed internet? Are we utilizing it to our full potential right now?
No, we haven't. The retirement fund financed the connection of the Waiheke cable to American Samoa, and it was connected in July of 2018. Until now, we haven't even used up the capacity that we have. It brought in 200 gigabytes, and we haven't even used it at all. So it is time for the new leaders to put that in a vision, and we need to materialize that for the next 2 years. For Tapa'au and Ulualo, that's not going to be a long-term dream. That is going to be a short plan. It's going to happen, and it's going to materialize within the next 24 months.
Thank you, Ialualo, for your response. And we'll now open the floor up to the other two camps if anybody would like to rebut. Would anybody care to rebut to his question or opine on their own about technological development here in American Samoa? Okay. We will move on, and we'll continue. Oh, excuse me? Okay. Yes, Lieutenant Governor. Floor is yours.
Thank you for the opportunity. Talofa, everybody, and thank you for coming out. Yeah. I was fortunate to be involved in securing the funds that enabled us to acquire the Hawaiki cable. And as a result of that, companies such as Cloud and other companies are now doing data centers. Businesses are using the opportunity of this fantastic internet to create new businesses. And that was the vision of the Lieutenant Governor and our current governor, to just bring the resource down. Time will come when we develop and we monetize it, but that depends on policies that are focused on creating business and supporting business. Limanu and I think very strong that we should support business, and the Hawaiki will be one way to do just that.
If I could follow up on that, because you mentioned cloud-based solutions, and cloud-based solutions was looking to set up a call center here. They had a major contract with a business in New York, but due to the COVID-19 regulations, they were unable to function as a call center in the evening hours. You know, the mandate said that you have to close at X certain time. Given that situation, I mean, I know that you're no longer the Attorney General. Lieutenant Governor, maybe you'd like to opine on this, but the task force in the administration right now said, no, you cannot function during those hours, and that created a huge loss of jobs.
And thank you for the question. Whaftea tu le fsili. O le upumoni ma le talamoi wa puipuia saonga le mutatou e fuafuanga i lana fionga le kovana ma le whainga malo. Le eise whaamai o sao mai i Territory America Samoa. O nālo su mai le malu le kabineta. O le anganga o le whaaftai la o tau ngā luenga. O fuafuanga umana whai le kovana. E ia ma le whainga malo. E leo whaatauanga vale i fo i pisinisi. E iei le fuafuanga i pisinisi. O te langona e iei se vai teimi o iluma. Ia ona fua foila i o le whaamutaina. O tūlanga uma i le iwa i le afiafi. And let me add on to that. O le tātou call center, o le tātou Hawaiki cable. E le i whaia le Hawaiki cable e se vai teimi o sola. E inai company ina o mai Samoa, fia whaavai, fia whaatū, a lātou fuafuanga. E lua tūlanga maoti sa le mawhai ei o na whai mua o le taun tā o le aspa o le pili o le wila longa lua o le taun tā ma le lava o le tātou sotainga o le interneti ia o le mea nao whainta i le atanuu a meise le whainga malo i le whionga kovana ia o na tuu ia mea awale lumana i o Samoa ia nana fuafua i tātou Hawaiki a whaaftai atu.
Lieutenant Governor, yeah, we got to keep a stern watch on that. The time ran out, and you did go over there a little bit. So, okay. All right, I just want to make sure that everybody knows if that happens again, we will have to, unfortunately, with all due respect, cut you off just to keep things fair to all other campaigns. Having said that, Thank you, Va'a. We would also like to open the floor up. Would there be any additional rebuttals to our discussion here, our opening segment on technological industry development? Senator Nua, Tapu Manaya, would either of you like to opine?
Thank you very much. We appreciate it. The Nuance Artillery team believes that the benefit of technology is that it has increased the efficiency of communication and how things have happened here in American Samoa. We believe that the installation of the Hawaii cable has put us in a position to maximize the use of technology to benefit us in areas of government services, such as healthcare, such as telehealth, education with virtual learning, and Zoom conferencing. I think it is important for us to understand that technology has made it possible for businesses and other industries, such as call centers and data centers, and it is our plan to work closely together with ASTICA so that we may be able to connect this Hawaii cable throughout the region so that we become the telecommunication hub of the Pacific. We want to make sure that we have a stable and reliable telecommunication system. And we want to make sure that everybody on the island is going to be able to enjoy that. And it begins with us putting focus on how technology is used and how it is sold and how the data and bandwidth is used to our advantage.
Tapu Manaya, thank you for that. I just wanted to ask a follow-up too. You mentioned ASTICA, and ASTICA being a government entity. Do you think it's appropriate for a government entity to be able to compete in the private marketplace with Bluesky?
Well, honestly, I think that government should leave certain services to the private sector. And we believe that in order for the private sector to be able to survive and be able to compete globally, they have to be given that opportunity. So when we have a government entity that is competing with them, it's unfair, so to speak. But because they are the ones that are controlling the Hawaii cable, we think that it should be available to private companies and whatnot to get a kind of discount or a kind of ability to tap in and utilize it so that all the companies and all the businesses in the island are able to utilize this benefit of having that kind of bandwidth available to us.
Thank you, sir. LT, did you have a response?
Yes. As soon as he starts the clock. Ole Fsili, Polal me wa kampide le malo ma la business or betao na kampide le malo ma la fai business. Ole tali ele ai fufu el malo ya langa manuia tu la mai tau ona yai ni si fufuanga le malo e fai ai. Le ala oficina le ASTICA o le talmoi le tau na tau vale malo ma le private sector. Case in point o le whainga o le bank o Amerika Samoa. Alu bank whatau leo mai nei o leisa bank o Amerika Samoa. Alu bank o Hawaii o mai nei leisa bank o Hawaii. Le alau toi oso mai le malo e tau whai le T-Pass. Ona o fufuanga ia o tau tuanga ia le malo i tangata nuu. O le meana e tauana ia le ASTICA, but do not bring it to the point where they're going to compete with the private sector. And my time is over.
All right. Thank you very much, sir. And we'll leave the floor open for any other rebuttals.
John?
Yes, sir.
Iolwalo and Tapa'au cannot re-emphasize enough how important it is for American Samoa to capitalize on the connections of the internet we have now for economic development. It's crucial, it's important. We have the infrastructure to build that. And we need, probably because of the COVID-19 and the way things are now, probably will be the only option for us that we can look at as for economic development. And bringing a data center in American Samoa, we have the infrastructure to do that. And that's $1 billion industry, $1 billion industry. It will help small business to grow. It will help our economy. It will create jobs, over at least 2,000 jobs. So there is absolutely no reason for us not to do that. As far as ASPA is concerned for the high cost of electricity, well, I am very proud what ASPA is doing now. My time is over.
All right, thank you. Thank you for staying within our guidelines. Appreciate that.
We have 3 minutes left for this segment.
Thank you for that. I just thought John was going to take up all the time for this segment. But I'm just so happy to hear all of the candidates engaged. Our second question goes to candidates Nua and Tapumanaya. Every year, numerous residents and their families leave the island to seek economic opportunities off-island. What will your administration do to convince those who have left the island and become successful in the fields of science, technology, to return and bring their experience back to American Samoa?
Ole lesi le fsili tau tele iso se temi fai tato sailinga tofi ono le tele o whanau e umai fafu ia no mai lea le maua ni ngā luenga e fai e noa masa tele po kalama ina ia whaatulanga le ngā luenga mo la tau ia e tala whenga i malato awa onga, malato tikili, ina ia lato maua le ia ngā ruenga mo le maleatina e o tato whenga malo. Mela lea e tau o le siri nei, e tau o na whaatulanga ia lato ngā ruenga pīlawa na ngai umai ia onga. Ina ia maua le ia lato tūlanga I lea mta upu mo le lumana o le atina e tato whenga maro o le tāua na o le lei e mawhai e lato o na tū lei le tato tamau ainga I le malosi lei ai I le poto male tamai o le mena e tāua I tele o na whatūlanga lato I ngaruenga le tato maro pawhitai.
Thank you, Senator Noah. I know that this question is very important to all of our candidates because of the brain drain that's occurring in our island. So I'd like to give the opportunity to any of the two candidates to respond. Dr. Tapa'au.
Thank you. In support of what I'olwalo has said about the data center. Unless American Samoa brings in new revenues, it will be very difficult to create meaningful employment for the young people of American Samoa. Not just any kind of job will keep our young people here. Many of them are returning with degrees or experience in the military or exposure to the outside world. They bring back knowledge and skills. The person most qualified and most capable of creating the data center for American Samoa is the man to my right. A data center is like a hotel that rents out rooms. They rent out servers, and businesses like Google and Facebook rent that space. I'olwalo has the connections to do that. Thank you.
We have one more minute for rebuttal.
Lieutenant Governor, 1 more minute for rebuttal.
Taftai ole upumoni. Faolola business. Faolola tulanga wa onga. Tele on whanaulo anga I fafo ona wa onga. Fai le kolisi dei, fau le kolisi whātau sanga. Ia mawaitu si I wal whanau. Whalelei a trade schools. Fau ia onga ia anga ia ole afo whanau e whau. Ele fia o kolisi. E fia o anga I trade schools. Ia ona otu lea, whai ngā luanga ia o lo tutumu nei tangata Asia. Ngata mai whafo. Ale isi tūlanga o le au business a tātou. E tau fo in the sila to ale atanu. O le mea tā ua ma le mea ma oti e taun tātou titilo iai. Ua le aini whanua o le atanu. Ua tō anga le atanu e ranti e whale oloa ma mom and pop si tangata Asia. Mantua tātou so mai lor whaolave ai tā lafu mai tifuru afi. A sau tifuru afi na malfia tausanga. Lima tifuru tausanga. Whai ai lava, whai ai lava. Teimi nei. O pūle a asia whanua. O lisi nā me taun tātu sisila iai.
Thank you very much, Candidate Lemanu. This concludes our 15-minute segment for the technology issue. We are now going to pull a second paper from the box, which will give our candidates an opportunity to discuss another issue. The issue that we will be discussing is taxation. And since candidates Iawalo and Tapa'au had the opportunity to answer our first issue, the next question, the first question for taxation will go to candidates Lemanu and Talawenga. Oh. You have a copy of the questions? Okay, I know you are. The question is, the Chamber of Commerce advocated for the relaxing of import duties and tariffs during the emergency declaration guidelines. If you were governor, and you are lieutenant governor, would you have agreed or engaged with the chamber to find a solution during the emergency declarations? So during the emergency declaration, I believe the chamber requested that the import duties for excise taxes either be placed on a moratorium or suspended. This was because they were trying to order a whole bulk of food supplies, equipment, etc., in light of the COVID. So what the question is, would you have supported the suspension of import duties for the chamber? Or Lieutenant Governor, to find a solution for this?
Ina ia malamalama I le tūlanga o tupetipi o le whainga malo o Texas. O so se vaenga ua tipi e le malo o iei le tūlanga o fofua iei. I ai tā lafu, ai meise ngā ruenga whai e le malo e tau tua ile atanu. A tipi le vaenga o le tax. E tau ona sa ili po fe me mau mai le tupe whaatu muai. Ia tupe le alanga tupe le ana whai ele tau tua al whainga malo. O le tūlanga le o tax e le whainga o fie. Sa iei le fufuanga i le awhionga kovana ia ma le malo le malo. Sa introduce le sales tax. Ia e peitai e le tau nu. O le fair sales tax. Ko kongi uma e kanga ka uma. Ala mela ia ngei o le 2% tax o le income tax. Ia o me umana. E na o tangata ngā lulu e lo tipi e o la tongi na tūlanga. Ia e mese fo i le au whai pisinisi. Ia e le o alu tele i lau tele tūlanga o tax. O le mea nai i le fisili o le tato fiafi. Ia e le whaingo fie. Masalo asapai e fo i. Ia e alu fo i tonu o ia inga tu la fono. O fair me au mai ele tupe tu whaatu mo ele vaenga. Ua avese. Ia wha awa o ele tautu al whainga malo tato tenu.
Thank you, Lieutenant Governor. Would anyone else care to respond to that?
Iawalo and Tapa'au will grant that moratorium to the Chamber of Commerce as a supportive effort to our to the COVID-19 impact. Seriously, if we approve and granted that moratorium, it will certainly help the business. And if the stimulus money comes, that's exactly where the stimulus money should apply to.
Thank you, Candidate Iawalo. So I'm just going to go back to what the Lieutenant Governor said, that if you grant, maybe if I'm wrong, Lieutenant Governor, you can correct me. But basically what he said was if we do grant a moratorium or any kind of relief for taxes, you have to find a replacement for that taxes because the government survives on taxation.
Yeah.
So what would be your recommendation to add additional revenues to replace the revenues that are lost through taxes?
Well, most of what you ask for in the moratorium is temporary, about 3 months, 6 months. Well, if we know that there is funding sources from the stimulus money, that's exactly where the money should go, to cover that loss of revenue.
Thank you. So the moratorium would be temporary for about 6 months. I think that the chamber was asking for that. Candidates Nua and Tapumanaya.
Papatai, se pai maua le tūlanga na, tauna whaangafua la whonga i te million sa tuai ei waa no mai pe leo mai foi waa le te mi wa mi whaintai businessi o na whaolaola. So we support the monitor. Thank you.
Thank you. Any rebuttal to Candidate Taloinga?
Thank you for the opportunity. It is really difficult to deal with these issues on real time. Decisions, calls made by the governor and the lieutenant governor involve a lot of fast decisions on what's happening on the ground. It's easy for, I guess, me, because I'm no longer in government, to sit and judge. But I think if you look in the totality of how all of this has been handled, with the lieutenant governor advising, I think you will come out with the understanding that all in all, we're better off the way we are today. The specific issue you asked, I think these issues were all discussed. Maybe not members, maybe not the managing committee of the chamber was involved in those discussions with the lieutenant governor and governor, but businesses were involved. And that's the decision that they decided to do, is go with the way they did. Thank you.
Thank you. So we have several questions in this segment, and I'd like to ask my partner, Will, to ask the second question.
Thank you. This question is directed to I'olualo and Tapa'au. It has been reported in the news that LBJ has not been receiving its portion of the 2% wage tax. If elected, would you repeal the 2% wage tax? Why or why not?
Well, just like what the lieutenant governor said, the 2% wage tax is already being earmarked by law to fund the hospital. So if any time that we take that out, that revenue stream, we have to find a revenue stream to cover that, because the hospital operation is already depend on that money for the operational costs. So it depends. If we find another revenue stream to duplicate that or cover that hole, yeah, of course. Right now, the wage tax it's not well implemented. Ever since this law, when I was in the Fono, this law was passed, and it was meant for something else. Then now it's ended up to go to the hospital. It was not really well implemented, and it's still not well implemented by the government. And we need to repeal it. We need to repeal it, and perhaps maybe reconsider and restructure the statute concerning the wage tax. Thank you.
What would you do differently in making sure that this money goes to LBJ?
Well, right now I know for a fact that it was not really fully implemented right, because I can tell you this: most of the people who are actually paying the 2% tax are the government employees, because they are easily deducted from their paycheck. And how it's collected out from the private sector and also employees, I don't know. Still, it was not well done when it was first done. So I think that we need to repeal it. Unfortunately, it's already earmarked to the hospital, and the operational cost is depend on that. So that's why we need to, before we repeal it, we need to cover that hole. We need to have revenue to cover that cost. Thank you.
Thank you. Nuan Satele, go ahead.
Thank you. We are committed to repeal 2% wage tax. The 2% wage tax is unfair because it is not applied to all who earn the income. Example, engaging in service business without employee do not pay the 2% wage tax. The 2% wage tax will be replaced by Medicaid funding. Our goal is to expand Medicaid services and allow private and non-profit corporations apply directly to CDC as a Medicaid provider. Our people can then receive option in medical service without burden in financial problems. And we're going to have more services in American Samoa if we're going to extend this Medicare service by DCD to our private sectors. And the money will cut from the salaries will replace the 2% wage tax. And plus, collect more than $10,000 million receivable at LBJ operation. Thank you.
Thank you. Senator Noah, appreciate it. Lieutenant Governor.
Whaftai sili. Salo ole to whama to le lunga I sa ilfono te mina pasi ai le 2 wage tax, le 2% wage tax. Na whaanganga le 2% na il whalmai. Tasi percent na whaalu le off-island refer. Tasi percent na whaalu I le operation at whalmai. It did work I le kaiming of whaiai. Au le temine, wa tele alanga tupe wo mai, it has always been an unfair taxation. Taxation I tato whainga malo langa, a tax ka kanga whainga luenga. We've been preaching the sales tax. Ol whalmai le ngau kanga whainga luenga, o lo whaonga ngat whalmai. But we've been preaching the sales tax. Repeal the 2% wage tax. Yeah, I introduced the total sales tax I tūlanga. Whaolaola Medicaid is one of the well-funded program we have in American Samoa, as was mentioned. Whailelei se tātou te unga tupe whaolaola le Medicaid, whaftai.
Thank you. We'll turn time over to John for our next question. In the
Can I say something about this again, or my time is up?
Yes, go ahead.
The reason why I didn't answer your questions about what we do to cover the 2% if we repeal it, because right now the majority of the hospital is funded by Medicaid money and Medicare, and then also the money from granted aid from the DOI, nothing else, and then the 2% wage tax. That's it. So in order for us to repeal this, the government has to come up with another funding source to cover that if we repeal it. We cannot use Medicaid and Medicare money to cover that because those are cost reimbursement money. So we create the cost and then you ask for the money to cover that cost. So before the money comes, it's already the cost to cover it. So you can't really use that as a windfall to cover the loss if we repeal the 2% tax. Thank you.
Thank you very much. John?
We have 3 minutes remaining on this segment.
Thank you, Coach Will. We will go ahead and put this question to candidates Nua and Satele. One of the challenges our businesses have faced in past administrations have been taxation without representation. If elected as governor and lieutenant governor, how would you engage and involve the American Samoa Chamber of Commerce on any taxation discussions during your administration?
We are going to invite a member of our chambers to involve in discussion of this taxation process. Thank you.
Thank you, Senator. Do we have any time for rebuttals in this segment? Okay, floor is open to the other two teams of candidates if you guys would like to chime in. I see Talawenga, go ahead.
Thank you for the opportunity. I would like to remind that you guys haven't asked us a question yet, but I'm sure that's coming. The issue of taxes is, as the Lieutenant Governor has mentioned before, is we have to look at it on a wholesale basis. As you may recall, I was the chairman of the Governor's Revenue Task Force, and we looked at the revenues of the government in different ways that we could help improve those. That discussion involved taking away some taxes, repealing the 2%, lowering our taxes for income, individual income taxes and corporate taxes. But that discussion also looked on the other side of the coin. How do you fill that blank in? And businesses rely on government to build the roads, fix the roads, have services that allow you to operate. So government needs money in order to do the things that businesses need to strive in this economy. Thank you.
Talawanga, if I could ask you a follow-up, I'll ask you this. You were on that task force, and one of the things that was implemented was the scanner fees. Did you solicit any feedback from the business community before you decided to impose those scanner fees?
This is the last minute for rebuttal.
Yes, we had conducted several meetings. The scanner operation was championed by the Treasury Department and the Customs Department, and we worked closely. Mind you, none of this stuff was done by the authority of Salo Ale. All of these were presented to the communities, not just the business community, but the private community, went through the Fono, approved by the Fono. And that's the process that we went through. And we still have the opportunity as a community to look at things, learn from it, and if we need to change, we change them. And that's the type of governance and administration that Limanu and I promise if we are so fortunate to get your support in November. Thank you.
Whaamole lava le sunga le pano. Whaamole lau sunga wa lua riparo au lese ma riparo. Tunga yasi ni minutes tasi.
Do we have time? Okay. Go ahead, you have 1 minute.
Iolalo and Tapa'au would support the Chamber of Commerce request to consider the legislation making the AMBT tax waiver permanent to encourage business growth. We would support the Chamber of Commerce's recommendation to consider adopting the Uniform Commercial Code, harmonizing the laws of sales and other commercial transactions. And we would support the Chamber of Commerce's request to consider legislation that would encourage the growth of green energy and the technology sector. And lastly, as the Chamber of Commerce has put forth, we would work very hard to work with the federal government so that we can build the economy of American Samoa. Thank you.
Thank you very much, candidates. That concludes our segment on taxation. This next one, we will pull from the box. All right, this next segment is tourism industry development. The first question here will go to Lieutenant Governor Limanu and Talawanga. It's already. The tourism industry has not seen much growth in American Samoa. If elected, what changes will you commit to in the tourism industry, and how will you implement them within the private sector?
Thank you. The tourism industry is important for American Samoa. We have a beautiful island, and we should do a better job of marketing it and growing it so that we have visitors. There's several issues that need to happen. We need to look at our immigration policies. As Attorney General, I've implemented several policies that allow visitors from a select group of countries to easily apply for entry permits to come to American Samoa. And those are continuing, and obviously with the COVID-19, we're seeing problems with travel, limitations of travel. But the COVID-19 has also taught us another thing. As we look around the Pacific, we see our neighbors suffering because their entire economy is based on the tourism industry. Now, we need to be smart at how we develop tourism here in American Samoa. We need to do a better job of implementing and using our American flag. We are the only American territory in the South Pacific. We should do a better job of inviting folks. When they land in American Samoa, they've landed in America. So I think there are things like that that we could do. We obviously need to work closely with the federal government to ease some of the regulations that limit our ability to bring foreign carriers to transport our people to Hawaii and other places, lower down the cost of travel. The one thing that I can promise, if we are so fortunate, is that Limanu and myself will work closely with the Chamber of Commerce and the business community to look into these ideas. We're not closed to anything in particular, and we have put out our platform on how we intend to build and enforce tourism, and I invite everybody to check that out. Thank you.
Thank you. We'll turn the time over to the other candidates.
Well, thank you very much. Tourism is an awesome topic. The Nuance Artillery team understands the vital importance of tourism, being that we are an isolated island and the only U.S. territory south of the Pacific, of the equator. Our vision is to revitalize our tourism industry by putting focus on building our local product, which is cultural and historical. That means when tourists go to become tourists, they want to see history. They want to understand history. So we want to support anyone who wants to start a tourist-based business. We want to assist locals who want to invest and build hotels, motels, or rentals for tourists. We want to be able to collaborate with our congresswoman and be able to get waivers for our cabotage, to change our domestic destination as a U.S. airport, or to re-include American Samoa in the United States Essential Air Services. We want to also be able to reach out and to make and promote American Samoa as a conference site for all Pacific organizations, businesses, and others. Tourism is important, and because we are an island, we can make it work and maximize the dollars so that we can build our economy. Thank you.
Thank you. Satele. Iolualo.
Taylor, let's just be real. The tourist industry is really terrible right now. This is the kind of talk that we talk for the last 10 or 20 years. But the ecotourism is here. We just need to promote it and market it right. It's here in American Samoa. That's one factor of it. Another one is, we need to bring more cruise ship here. But ever since I came back from the mainland and moved back here in American Samoa, I haven't seen any cruise ship, stay overnight here in American Samoa. We need to do that. That brings in about over 2,000 tourists in 24 hours or 48 hours. Now, if they can stay overnight, that's a big infusion in our economy. But we need, the government's responsibility need to build the infrastructure that makes people stay here overnight. That's our responsibility, and that's what Iolualo and Tapao is going to do.
Thank you. You've all brought out some great ideas, so we look forward to being able to implement those for our people. We'll turn the time over to John for the next question. Same topic.
Thank you, Coach Will. All right, so Senator Nua and Tapu Manaya, we are on to our next question. This is regarding the tourism industry. Tourism development has shown little progress here in American Samoa. Do you have any planned tax incentives for businesses in the tourism industry to further invest, like an off-island chain of hotels or something like that would come out here and say, hey, American Samoa, give me favorable tax breaks. What can I do to set up shop here? So we'll go ahead and turn the time over to you for your response. Gentlemen?
Can you say that question in Samoan, John?
Okay, I'm going to skip you then, and LT, no, I'm kidding.
Thank you very much.
Go ahead.
Well, like we've said before, one of the things that we want to focus on is to revitalize our local product. And anyone who's going to go out in tourism, we know very well in the Pacific region, the two top tourist destinations is Tahiti and Samoa. We need to be able to tap into that same industry. And we know that there were a while back, the Outrigger Hotels was trying to come here to American Samoa, and they wanted a package with the hotels and the golf course. Well, of course, the legislatures are golfers, so they didn't want the price to go up playing golf. So that thing didn't go through. But it is very important that we take a look at. We have a very rich culture. We have a very rich history. And yet all we need to do is we need to revitalize it by encouraging people to utilize the history that we have here. And when we are able to open up more airlines to come here and open up more opportunities, it's really important that we take a look at how we can do that. In Cook Islands, such a small island, you can walk around it in about an hour. Cook Islands, they have 3 planes that come into the Cook Islands every day. And what they did was they got the whole island to buy into their tourist plan. And they got everyone to come on board. And what they did was everybody was told, we need to keep a clean island, so you don't find trash anywhere. Everybody needed to put together the Cook Island history. So they had night shows. They had places where people can go and see and hear or listen to the history. That's what we need to do here in American Samoa. In order for us to revitalize tourism, we have to put local emphasis on how our people can understand that we have it right here in our hands. All we need to do is focus on teaching them how to maximize the dollars. The reason why the tourist boats don't stay here overnight, there's nothing happening in the evening. But if we can make sure that we get people to get that want to invest in hotels, motels, and whatnot, it's just an investment into people's dream that tourism can work here.
All right, thank you. And we will open the floor up to rebuttals from any of the other 2 teams. Yes, Lieutenant Governor?
Hey, John, you keep looking at me. I'm supposed to answer that question? Ole, whaftai I le fsili, ole, tasi o mata upu e tu ngā ma whaingatai le whainga malo. Ole tātou tūlafono le mai Amerika o le Cabotage Law. Tele o whainga malo tuanai, sa tamu whai e wha tarsanga i Amerika, e tala le avanoa e o mai ei waalele e le na o le Hawaiian Air a o isi fo i waalele mai isi atanu i Amerika Samoa. Ia e le whatau nuu lo lato tarsanga. O le anganga fo i na pe a whamanuieina le whamoemoe o i maua ma le sunga loia. Ia e tau tuli fo i le nā fuafuanga. So soani le a whionga le whaipule mai laumua. Ia me se fo i le ofisa o le DOI. Tamu whai pe e se avanoa te whaanga fuai Amerika Samoa. Ma le Cabotage Law. Ia whaingo fia ai o na taungo fia pasese. Ia me se fo i o isi waalele e lele mai Amerika Samoa. Tele.
Thank you. And Tapa'au, I understand that you had a response?
Test. I realize this is a Chamber of Commerce forum that's most interested in business development. But I would like to tell you respectfully that I'olualo and I take a close look at the way native cultures have been commodified and commercialized over a long period of time. It's not a necessary good to consider product development that doesn't consider this. Tourism for American Samoa needs to be a matter of identity and scale. We are not Waikiki, nor should we desire to be Waikiki, or other places that have a kind of commercialized native identity that actually harms the native identity. And so, as ecotourism has been mentioned, and until the cabotage laws can be revised, let's look at a kind of tourism that gives true pride to the people of American Samoa.
Thank you. We have time for one more question, and this question will go to candidates Ia Ulualo and Tapa'au. Just to clarify, we do this in rotation because I just want to say the second issue was on taxation, and I asked the first question to Lieutenant Governor and Talawenga. So this question is, and I think this is an important one because of government's involvement in tourism, and we've seen the tourism office be a small division in the Department of Commerce, and it became a Office of Tourism, and now it is the American Samoa Visitors Bureau. So if elected, what plans and support would you give to the American Samoa Visitors Bureau to help them grow tourism, the tourism industry in American Samoa?
We have 3 minutes left for this segment.
Well,
You have 2 minutes to answer and 1 minute for Lieutenant Governor to respond.
well, we talk a lot about tourism, and also, but the truth is, the government has not lived up to its obligations to the tourism industry. I mean, I really think that the visitors bureaus, and the Office of Tourism should be under the Chamber of Commerce, and I think it should be fully involved. The Chamber of Commerce should be fully involved in that, and funding and building the infrastructure is the most important thing and a responsibility to the government, and that's what. That's the government responsibility in promoting the tourism. Am I answering your question right, or?
I'm not going to judge you on your answer. Thank you. But I do have a response to that, but I'm not going to take the time away from the Lieutenant Governor. Lieutenant Governor?
Thank you. I will answer for our team. The Lieutenant and Governor and I strongly believe that the tourism business in American Samoa, it's not just the governments to control. It's you. We are the tourism. We have a culture that is unique. People want to come here to see us live our life. I said this before, and I'm so proud to say it, that our culture is a living culture. It's not a museum culture that only shows up when special things happen. We live the Fa Samoa, and we are so proud to do it. Don't let government control what you do to grow your business. Don't let government get in the way. That's the problem that we have. Too much government. We need government to get away and allow you, the private sector, to innovate, to do your thing, because only you know how to make money. Government doesn't make money, they take money from you. And we need to remember that. Thank you.
So we have, just to be fair that everyone gets to answer this particular question, we will turn the time 1 minute over to candidates Nua and Tapumanaya.
Can you repeat the question, please?
What will you do to support the American Samoa Visitors Bureau?
Thank you very much. Well, we were in the funnel when they opened out the Visitors Bureau. And one of the things that I was very surprised at is over the 8 years that we had a person run the Visitors Bureau, they were making close to $90,000 a house, a stipend, and whatnot. And the only results that I saw was that we increased the level of boats that came in to American Samoa. There was no infrastructural challenge to try and help local people maximize the dollars of the tourist industry. So we may have brought more people here, but in reality, if there's 3,000 people on the boat, maybe only 20% came out. And when they came out, there were very limited places for them to go. And the only thing that they had was a bus ride to go to one side of the island, come back to the other side of the island. But yet we have a rich culture, and I beg to disagree with Tapa'au that we are not commercializing our culture. We are actually promoting our culture. So for me, that's what we needed to do.
Thank you.
Thank you. Let's hear it for our gubernatorial candidates. We have now concluded the first half of our evening. We will take a 10-minute intermission and then resume our evening. If time permits, we will allow the audience to ask questions at the end. Okay, thank you. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. We will commence the second half of our evening. Aren't they doing a great job? And I want to commend our Chamber of Commerce members for the great questions that you've submitted tonight. Due to time, because we are already at 6:30, we've decided to change the segments to 10-minute segments in order for us to have some questions asked from the audience. So if you do have a burning desire to ask a question, please come over to our side and let us know. We may have just time enough for 1 to 2 questions at the end, okay? So we will change the segment of each, change the time of each segment to 10 minutes per segment. Okay, we will start again at the beginning with John Rayner.
All right, thank you, Luisa. And our next topic of discussion will be healthcare infrastructure. And we go back to the beginning of the rotation. So we will start out with the candidates on the left side, Ialoalo and Tapa'au. So we are on healthcare infrastructure. And the question is, to open up our new segment here, it is widely accepted that the LBJ Tropical Medical Center is in need of significant rehabilitation or replacement. What is your plan to repair or even replace the LBJ Hospital? The floor is yours, gentlemen.
Thank you, John Rayner. First of all, we are in COVID-19 times. And the work that the hospital is doing at the moment is to prepare for the event that a confirmed case would be in American Samoa. That means building up the ICU in American Samoa, making sure there are enough ventilators. It means public health, building the quarantine centers. It means building the online infrastructure that is needed, especially for schools that might be closed, for providing religious services on Sunday to promote social distancing. Those are the things that are happening at the moment because those are the times that we live in. U.S. Army Corps of Engineers did a study that it would take more than $150 million to build a hospital that would provide the same kind of quality facility that you would have in the United States. Ialoalo and I have to look at innovative ways to provide health care in American Samoa. That's why in our platform, we have proposed that we look at nonprofit models in the same way that hospitals off-island work with universities or other private foundations. Using a nonprofit model gives us eligibility to access those kinds of funds. We cannot simply depend on local funds unless we build the data center that Ialoalo has proposed, or we can find other sources of revenue. How do we find $150 million, John Rayner? It would take a huge, huge paradigm shift in the way American Samoa handles itself. Otherwise, we pray to God. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much for that, Tapa'au. And the floor is open to the other two teams of candidates if you guys would like to rebut as to how we can improve or just completely replace the LBJ Tropical Medical Center.
Whaftai. Ole tau pule wa. Ole bana whapi nau pole ase tūlanga le whaingol whalma. Wa yele tau fi a whai la whiwhilia mau. Ole a mawhaua le whalma fō. O whalma i lea, ole a mawhai ei o ngā maua ni fō mai le lei. O sili pe whawhenga whau o whalma. E eile paanga ka kou Amerika, United States federal governments. En whainga ko partnership whakasi. Ia o ngā whaila leo le ai inga. Masangi ka ko fixu 5% a mai le federal governments. Ai lose full 5% ka ko. Ia ngā maua leo ka ko whalma. Ia lewa kangi malong.
Thank you, Senator Nua. Any other rebuttals? Lieutenant Governor Talawenga, would you guys like to respond? The floor is yours.
Ole fsili pa tātou taria leisi tū. Salo e leo whanmai. A o tangata whainga luenga ma fō mai ma tēne fō mai. E tatauan to e tātou sila toa iai. Tō fia fō mai e tō fia tēne fō mai tau si mai o tangata o tātou inei. Tō fia fōi lau whainga luenga o tangata inei Amerika Samoa. E whaingo fia le tūlanga o whanmai fōu. A le mele tātou te whinau iai. Ia toi whaolaola tupulanga o Amerika Samoa e toi fōi mai Amerika Samoa. O le ale tūlanga e whai, whai whalele ia onga. Toi whai ia onga alaine skolsipi. E alu skolsipi mana onga o le whai ngā malo malantau tua i lea tunu. Toi whai le leito tongi o tamaitai ma fō mai. Ia toi au mai ai a tātou tamaiti o tātou whanau. E toi ngā lulua i nei Amerika Samoa. Tai.
Yes, Yalawala, did you like to reply?
Yeah, in addition to what Tapa'au said, we issue our platform on healthcare. Ladies and gentlemen, the real problems we have now, we don't have enough money. We have a healthcare that costs $150 million to run it, but the government is only giving them a $50 million budget. That's the problem right now. It doesn't matter how we twist it. The problem is we don't have enough money to provide a good and sound health care to our people. And Tapa'au and I have a plan for that. That's number one is Tapa'au has said it that we can convert it to nonprofit organizations. Because if we tap into foundation money, that's another source of money. Now, we can continue on to work with the federal government on the existing money funding sources that we have now. You know, maybe perhaps we can get rid of some of the restrictions that we can work with the federal government on that. So that we'll continue on to sustain that funding. But we need to bring more funding to the hospital. How can we do that? We need to develop the economy that will be able to bring new money to the hospital. Thank you.
We have 3 minutes for this segment.
We're going to move on to our next question. And our next question was partially answered by the Lieutenant Governor. But this question will be directed to candidates Nua and Tapumanaya. The director of LBJ Medical Center has stated that there is a lack of trained medical staff to support the operation of the hospital. What is your plan to increase the number of trained medical staff at LBJ and encourage local students to pursue careers in the medical field?
Whaftai, o le mea nā lea na whai atoi māua, e whai le whalma I fōu. A whai le whalma I fōu, o le am whai na au mai ni fō mai le lei, fō mai ata mai I so se fiol. O na maua leo le awanoa e mawhai e fō mai ia, o na claim le tātou Medicare. Paua nā le wala e maua I tātou le tupu e whapopo. A le whauinga o le whalmai. Pēna tano atu. E fixo 5% le federal, luas fu 5% Amerika Samoa. E le whapea e tasi tausanga e whai. We can plan for 5 years plan. And then we can portionally contribute to this 25% to build a new hospital. Thank you.
Candidate Talawenga.
Lemandu and I do not object to building a new hospital. We think we should look at the entire healthcare system, and that is why healthcare is number one in our platform as we rolled it out. Health is important. We need to be healthy in order to enjoy our lives, in order for our children to learn. But the 3 areas that we focus on in our platform, and the first one in health is improving the workforce development, which starts from a young age, teaching students to learn math, sciences. But it continues on. We need to have an active recruitment. Start with the students, people from American Samoa who are now highly regarded medical doctors in California, Hawaii. We need to bring them back. Building hospital, building the infrastructure, of course that is part of it. But the third part of our development is helping with innovation, using technology to improve our healthcare system. And I invite everyone to observe our platform as it rolls out. Thank you.
Thank you.
We have 1 minute for rebuttal.
Dr. Tapa'au.
There are 2 parts to your question. American Samoa cannot offer competitive salaries to doctors or nurses or other medical professionals from off-island. Our appeal to them would have to be humanitarian, to please come and help us. The other part of your question was how do we build training? We cannot take a short-term look to how we can get more doctors in American Samoa. We have to take a long-term approach. We have to even start in elementary schools. We have to build science labs to interest more students in science. And our entire culture has to be interested in health, in prevention, in addressing childhood obesity. We need to take the whole healthcare system has to work together. And so we need to be honest about these kind of problems, and we can't just bring Band-Aid solutions to trying to train our youth, because these are the highest. Becoming a medical doctor takes a dream. We have to give our young people the dreams to become doctors. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. That concludes that segment. We'll now move on to the next segment. All right, our next segment is agriculture industry development, legalization of hemp CBD industry. This is an interesting one. All right, here we go. This question is directed to Lieutenant Governor Lemanu and Talawenga. The pandemic has exposed our reliance on imported food supplies. How do you plan on creating a better local network for local farmers to include higher production of local produce and become more self-reliant? Sorry, that's the wrong question. My bad. Let me ask you the correct question. Sorry about that. In 2018, the Farm Bill was passed, which legalized the federal level of production of industrial hemp. And already the market has changed considerably. The supply of and demand for industrial hemp skyrocketed thanks to a booming cultivation market and now CBD products. If elected, would you take affirmative action to legalize industrial hemp in American Samoa? Why or why not?
Ko e mai lau vanga marijuana lai koe o. No, ole fisili e whaftai atu. Ole fisili ma tau tonu lea tanu ma whamanuia le whamoemoe. Pe whaatanga o na whatangaina o na tō ia ole marijuana olo au mai ei le suau le sa mai tonu marijuana e whai le hemp le ta ua le hemp olo o whai ia vai fō po vai la au e fō ia i le tele o ngase i nei vai tau o le tūlanga mo ia ma le upumoni tele stete o whatangaina le tūlanga lea e o fo i territory o Amerika o whatangaina o tele fo i stete o whaongaina ma whaatau ma o le tele o tamau ainga e moa mai le hemp i le tūlanga lea a tilo le stete o Colorado e tele ma o vatu ilunga le aini lato taxation o le koe taxina le malo lea tanu i tūlanga o le fuafuanga lea a le fisili ai tātou e le o tātou e whaia le tali o le fisili e a whaina i umalava le atanu o te langona fo i e ese le manatu e kalesia ma aulotu te langona fo i e ese manatu o le mamalu o le atanu i le wha moe moe o e wha whaingo fie o na wha o ngā se pe a wha peo le fufuanga lea ia o na wha o ngā le isi tūlanga le tau o na wha o ngā ai a o le mea moi e pei lava o isi fo i fufuanga a le lei o na fuafua ma enforce le tūlafono ia ma whai tūlanga whapena ia e le talawhea ngai fo i lea tūlanga o le mata upu e ma te langona taun ave lumo le atanu e le ato tsilai ia e meise whai ese whai unga atoa whaftai.
Thank you, Lieutenant Governor. Time is now open for the other candidates. So right now, Lieutenant Governor is saying that we leave it up to the people to decide.
Iolano and I have considered this topic for many, many hours. The first part of it is that we have to get the facts. And I agree with Lieutenant Governor Lemanu in that we have to give serious consideration to the religious and cultural concerns when discussing something like sativa. The fact is, CBD is an agent that does not get people high. It's the THC in marijuana that has that effect on people. So when we talk about CBD, please consider that. If, as Lemanu said, it is presented to the people, let's be very careful to give them the right information. And anything that has stigma attached to it, and this is where Owalo and I, we've talked hours and hours about this. Anything that has stigma, we need to be very careful. Thank you.
Nuan Satele?
Thank you very much. I think the first and foremost thing that needs to be clarified is the differences between hemp, CBD, and then marijuana and whatnot. Although they come from the same plant, their uses are different. So the active ingredient in that, as mentioned by Tapao, is that there is what they call THC. So it was legalized because if it has 0.3% of THC, it is legal. So when the Farm Act or the Farm Bill was legalized, hemp, the passage of the Farm Bill was legalized, it legalized hemp, but it didn't create a system for it to be grown freely. for those of you who don't understand, hemp can be used for products such as clothing, construction materials, plastic, health foods, and organic body care. CBD is oils that can be used to treat medical, such as relaxing, anxiety, and depression. So what we do believe in is that there needs to be more discussion on it. We believe that we will support the facilitation of this discussion, and we want it to be made as a community discussion. So for us, we need to ask the advice of the professionals so that we can get the regulations that need to be done so that it can be done properly.
Hello, thank you. We'll turn the time over to John for our next question on this same topic.
All right, thank you, Coach Will. And we now move on to, this question is for Lieutenant Governor Lemanu and Talawanga. Excuse me? Oh, it's Tapa'au? Okay, I beg your pardon. Sorry, I'm on Tapa'au and Ialoalo. Okay, this is we're still on the subject of farming and agriculture. We're going to move on, though, past the THC discussion. This is about our pandemic that has exposed our reliance on imported food supplies. For example, I don't know if you guys remember, like back in February, when all the stores ran out, the boats were late, the shelves were pretty empty. How do you plan on creating a better local network for local farmers to induce higher production of local produce and become more self-reliant on the goods that are here in American Samoa versus waiting around for a container boat to show up and bring things from off island? What about things that we have right here on island? So that's the question, and we'll go ahead and turn the time over to you, gentlemen.
Well, this is the time, especially the COVID-19, this is the time for our territory to seriously look at local agriculture. Now, one of a friend of mine invented a machines that dry up the ulu, the flour. Now, these are also, it was actually done here in American Samoa, which is, it can dry up the ulus and produce the flour that will last for 5 years. Last for 5 years. So these are the innovative ideas that created locally that we need to capitalize on it. And also we need to bring the farmers together, and just really put an enforcement on them. And then also the government should be spearheading that effort to bring the farmers together and just implement a program that will be able to incorporate the farmers here in American Samoa. Thank you.
Thank you, Ialoalo.
We have
Tapu Manaya. Go ahead with your rebuttal, sir.
Thank you very much. I think for us, for Nuansatele, what our vision is that, we understand that agriculture is, an occupation for people, and it's also food security, but it's also a way of life. What we need to do is we need to go back and reinstill some of the programs that we can do, which is like agriculture providing seedlings for families to be able to self-sustain by growing their own vegetables. We want to be able to work with individuals who want to invest in livestock. We want to also be able to promote and encourage people to get into the establishment of hydroponics farming. We also want to get back and empower people to get into aquaculture. These are some of the things that are now available here for us. And all we need to do is make sure that we enhance and empower people so that they can go back to the lands. I remember standing in Koshules and his parents were sitting there and they go, man, there's no more rice. What are our kids going to eat? That's one of the things that we need to go back and re-engage people into local farming, self-sustainment, and being able to provide for themselves. Thank you.
This is the last minute for rebuttal. Last minute for rebuttal.
Okay, Talawanga, would you like to rebuttal?
Yes, I do. The agriculture is one of these businesses where there are tons of small businesses involved. My uncle is a farmer, grows taro. He sells to the school lunch program. Most of my relatives in Sekanga do that. A lot of people in this arena today are involved as small business owners, farming. They are probably not part of the Chamber of Commerce, but they are business owners, and they produce and they put money into this economy. It's very important for us to focus on growing our agriculture, showing techniques and technology so that the farmers can be more efficient in how they harvest their kalo, how they grow lettuce. Tutuila greens has bloomed in American Samoa. Now we grow tomatoes, we sell it, we see them all over the place. We need to build the infrastructure to entice and encourage our people to become their own bosses. Be a farmer, sell your goods right in front of your house, or bring it to the market. Thank you.
Thank you, Talawenga. And that concludes the current segment that we're in. So we now head into our final segment. And they're a little bit more abbreviated just so we can offer the time and possibly solicit some questions from the audiences. Okay, and this question is for Senator Nua and Tapu Manaya, and we are on procurement process, fair bidding, and transparency, which is an exciting topic. It really is. A lot of people want to know why only one company gets all the jobs. Okay, so our question here, our first question on procurement, for Nua and Satele. Many businesses have noted that many of the large construction projects have been consistently awarded to only a few bidders. Would you suggest or support the reform of the procurement process? And if so, what reforms would you suggest so the same old company does not get one job after another, and everybody else has to fight over crumbs?
Can you translate in Samoa? Thank you. Ole si nei vaenga o tele ai whawhitauli pe ona tō mai le fisili. Ole whale tonu ole suenga ole kontela te whaia ngā ruenga al malo. E whaingtā tele ona na maua ni ngā ruenga isi company pe a whapea ele sa ole whainga ole piki. A whai e la whamanuinga nuam sa tele. Ole aso e nuam sa tele tangata sa o lava e alu e pūlea le vaenga lea. Ma wha ngai oi kula fongo e malamalama i kangaka. I ngā ia auangi e iskangaka e whasilingia le whaka i le whainga le pili. A whai e haia se director e sili ako o ngā whamaongi. Ka kongo e le koe whasilingia kula fongo lo ingei. Kula fongo ia ingei o sao ma le lei ma kongo le kula fongo. Alfalvo lave e le lei le whafoinga e le director ma le staff le procurement. Le mafuai ang complain le kokele o kampangi. Mela lea haia le director e whamaongi koe kaukar sao. Ele susu ya yang kali ke mi umalava faftai.
Thank you, Senator. And the floor is open for rebuttals. Would anybody care to opine or reply?
Faftai. We have a law, and people need to follow that law. If Iolualo and Tapao is elected, we are going to look very closely to that law and make sure fairness and equitable is applied to that law. So we can, I don't know what else to say. We cannot solve problems with people's attitude and people's personality and how they handle things. But we have a law. They need to be followed. And we'll make sure that law is followed when we become, if we elected governor and lieutenant governor.
Lieutenant Governor, you'd like to respond?
I'm trying to think if I should answer that or not. Ole whawhtaiat silija. Ole upumoni mal whamaoni pe ona saunuatu le malo sui tau wā. O iei tu la fono o mon whata oto le procurement. O tu langa fo tu la fono e aua le soria le malo o upomoni. E le aima se isi le nei whainga malo e sili atu ilunga o tu la fono whata oto. E le aima se isi le nei malo a mata mea ko vana e o lava e le tangata te ufale po o le malo le atanu o lo ngā lua i lalo. O le tu la fono o whai mo tangata uma. So le mea leo te whai atu ai pe a whamanuia le mātamu whainga e mulmuritai tu la fono. Ia tu tusa uma i au tangata i fuafuanga o tūlanga o petinga po o taufonga o ngā luenga i Amerika Samoa. Ia o le whamtalanga nei na whapupu whaaftai.
Thank you, Lieutenant Governor, and we'll stay on the topic of procurement. And up next is our moderator, Lydia, with a follow-up.
Our second question is closely related to the first question, so I'm going to skip to the third question since all of our candidates have answered that. The third question, there have been, which I addressed to Lieutenant Governor, is it Lieutenant Governor? No, I think it's Lieutenant Governor. Yeah, I don't want to get in trouble. Lieutenant Governor and candidate Talawenga, there have been many accusations of gifts and kickbacks being provided to government employees to curry favor in the procurement process and obtain favorable outcomes. What will you do to provide transparency and curtail any potential conflicts of interest to ensure that the government contracts are fairly awarded and government regulations are followed?
Thank you for the question. The only way government works is integrity. That's the only way. The people elect leaders because they trust that they will do their job with integrity. If there is no integrity, we have no hope. And there is no man that I know that has more integrity than the man sitting next to me. You have all seen it in his actions, his decisions to remove certain directors. He makes tough calls. Integrity. It's very difficult to do, but so vital in gaining the trust of our government. That's the way we plan to govern or administer our government should we be so fortunate. Procurement procedures need to be transparent and need to be handled by people with integrity. People who do not obey the law, people who take kickbacks are going to be in the streets because there is no room in the Limanu and Talawenga administration for people who play favors like that. It's against our DNA. It's completely against our DNA. We don't accept it, we don't practice it, and that's the only way that American Samoa can get off and do better than what we have. We have done great through the past. Our forefathers have provided us with this platform for us to reach and get to the skies. Activities such as this, taking gifts and bribes, those are the things that hold us back. We need to get done with it and live and fulfill all that we can for our people. Thank you.
Thank you. Would any other candidate want to respond on what you will do to provide transparency and avoid potential conflicts to make sure that government contracts are fairly awarded?
We have 2 minutes left for this segment.
Tina lava ngai loa e whamalo stula fono. O lai tupu le whavlavina. Ai le ia se me whai iai. Tina whai ngai loa e le o compliance e directors po la tau ia whai unga tu sa stula fono. Ai le se me whai iai. O le mea nawa sa sao e le whawhitauli. Wale mawhai e whamalosi tūlafono. Ona whamalosi tūlafono. Wale eisi accountability. Ronga winga. Wa halua tangata ia. Leo one le valu tausanga o le ata whalonga mea whapenei. O le lefe tau i o whai unga whai. Ai lea se tautala ia. Ia o fiu fo le fono ia tau fai tūlafono e fo e whawhitau. Ia ka alwatu a tūlafono mtati tia le se me whai ia. Whawhitai.
This is last minute for
last opportunity for Dr. Tapa'au.
I'olualo has given me a chance again to speak on this. I would propose to the Chamber of Commerce that this is precisely an area where the Chamber of Commerce can play a role in shaping public policy of the government of American Samoa. Yes, I would like to thank candidate Talauenga for bringing up integrity. It's true, you must have integrity. But this is happening on both sides of the coin. The government by itself is not the only one at fault. Both sides, the public sector and the private sector, need to work together. And I suggest to the Chamber of Commerce that this is precisely an area where the Chamber can shape the kind of public policy that we need so that there can be a level playing field in the bidding process. I invite you to come up with ideas. Share them with the Ulalo and Tapa'au, and we will develop that kind of platform. Thank you.
Thank you so much, candidates. We will leave the remaining time to the Vice President and the audience.
Thank you, gubernatorial candidates, and thank you, moderators. We do have time for a couple of questions, and then we will allow each of our candidates for their closing remarks, which is 2 minutes each, correct? So our first question will be from Nina Tua'au Cloud. She's a veteran and returned home and is a new business owner in healthcare. Nina, could you step up to John Rayner and use his microphone to ask your question? And we will allow 1 minute responses from each of the campaigns if they would like to respond.
E watu le whaaloalo, ma le whawhatai for the opportunity for me to be able to ask this question. Wa o whalanginga Nina Tua'au Klode o te sau I le beautiful district of Alataua. Thank you. I served in the United States Air Force Intelligence Headquarters in the Pentagon, and I am now returning to Samoa to honor my parents by building a home. I also would like to come back and be able to bring my talent, my resources to be able to help with the healthcare system we have here in Samoa. My question is to all the candidates, would you be willing to commit to boldly, and that means would you sign into law and support the healthcare systems of the United States territories because they have been seriously neglected for years? Would you also support building a local capacity of healthcare facilities and standards to upgrade to bring the healthcare system in U.S. standards? I also have my last question. Would you be able to commit in supporting American Samoa economy by being designated as a U.S. import and export location for markets, especially since the fading tuna business in the last major commercial employer on this island? For the
Nina, those are 3 questions. You're allowed at 1 question, so you can answer one of the 3 questions. Please, candidates. Okay, go ahead.
Thank you for the question. There's a reason why Limanu and I put healthcare as our #1 issue. First, because healthcare is important. But second, healthcare is really an avenue for us for economic growth. The health industry has so much potential. And if we invest in growing we are the only, as I said before, we are the only U.S. territory in the Pacific, South Pacific. Islands around us would be encouraged to come seek services from U.S. medical doctors. We could build a medical school here and encourage people from other neighboring islands to come to American Samoa. What I'm saying is that healthcare is a key economic growth area for us that needs serious investigation and review. And the private, the Chamber of Commerce and businesses play a vital role in that, and we encourage you to do so. Thank you.
Shall we move on, or would anyone else like to respond?
I would have to ask her to ask the question again. But the lady did bring up the idea of food, export and import. And related to food security, this is something very important. All islands in the Pacific depend on imported food. And if you look at your plate tonight, you might find that 80 to 90% of your food is imported. It's not our fault. That kind of shift happened 50 years ago after World War II, where the economies of all islands changed. And so we are dependent on imported food. And I appreciate the answers by the other camps in trying to address this. In a word, the answer is science. I happen to be the former director of the land grant program that does a lot of research to look at how we can decrease our dependence on imported food. And we really need to support that. I'urualo and Tapa'au, our administration, would use more science to decrease our dependence on imported foods.
Thank you.
Thank you very much for the question. We're going to address the first question that came out about healthcare. The Nuan Satele team believe that good health is the gateway to the desired quality of life. And in order for us to do that, we have to be more proactive in how we approach the healthy living habits. We need to be able to establish the type of living habits that we are accustomed to as Samoan people. If you look back in the early 70s, the late 60s, you don't see pictures of very large people. Obesity was not really an issue at that time. So we want to make sure that to increase the quality of healthcare services, we need to be able to focus on what is most important. And that is investing in our healthcare system by empowering our young people to get into the healthcare field. And then we want to establish a program called Toe Fo'imai. That program is to take a look at all our young Samoan people who are in the healthcare field and empower them with initiatives and with a package to bring them back home and to serve our people here at home. Because there's nothing better than to go see a doctor and you talk to your own people. So for us, that is one of the ways that we like to do. We want to invest in expanding that opportunity to make healthcare a priority here in American Samoa.
Thank you, Tapumanaya. I apologize, but we cannot take any more questions. I was informed that we need to be completed with our event at 7:30. So to allow our candidates the ample time they need to say their closing statements, we will forego the questions. And I apologize. This just gives you each an opportunity to get to know these candidates and ask them directly. So at this time, we would like to give our candidates 2 minutes each per campaign for their closing remarks. And since we started here, we shall start at the far end and work our way down.
Thank you, Chamber of Commerce, for this great opportunity to be here to discuss these key issues about our government and the future of our people. I'd also like to thank these gentlemen sitting up here with me. It takes a lot of guts to put yourself out there, to be subjected to all types of questions and such. Thank you for putting your name forward. I'd like to thank all of you for showing up and telling us that you do give a damn on what happens in our island. Thank you to the small businesses who are working so hard to make this island what it is. Without you, the private sector, government cannot function. As we discuss in this today, the issues that were brought up, 2 minutes is hardly enough time to talk to you and explain to you the intricacies and the importance of the issues. If there is one thing that Lemanu and I would like for you to take away today, is our passion to do the right thing, to serve with integrity, to be committed to lead our people in the path of righteousness, because the rule of law ensures that we all play on a level playing field. Without the rule of law, there is no future for our people. Without the rule of law, only the select few get government contracts. Without the rule of law, only select few get envelopes. What we are preaching and our message to the people of American Samoa, we bring to you integrity. The rule of law will govern, because the rule of law equalizes all of us. Thank you, and may God bless American Samoa.
Before you start, I just want to take this real quick minute. I'd like to introduce our wives. If I can just have them stand up. This is Faletua Usumano and my wife Sandy. Thank you. You can start our time now. I stand before you in humble gratitude and on behalf of Senator Nua and myself, our wives, and our Nua and Satele Committee, to say Faftaitele and thank you. Thank you for this great opportunity and platform we've been given to come here and have this discussion with you. It was important for Senator Nua and myself to be here this evening. Although we have other obligations on Thursday nights for our chat sessions to our young people, we needed to be here. We felt strongly enough that we needed to come here and connect with you, the business community. We needed to listen to the concerns of the business community and to share our thoughts and plans for the future of our government. I recall a Steve Jobs quote, and it said, "It doesn't make sense to hire smart people so we can tell them what to do. We hire smart people so they can tell us what to do." So tonight was not about just us, the candidates. It was about creating a trust and partnership with the business community, who we strongly believe is the backbone and heart of our economy, to tell us what we need to do. As candidates, we must understand and be in tune with you so we know what to do and to build a strong, reliable, and stable economy by working together. I want to thank the Honorable Lieutenant Governor Lemanu and Talawenga. I also want to thank the Honorable I'olualo and Tapa'au for making your time available tonight. It is a blessing to share this evening with you, because we all come together for a common goal, and that is to serve our people. I believe and I am thankful that we have had this opportunity, and we want to wish and thank the chamber organizers of this event. Thank you for having us. Job well done. We want to thank the chamber membership. We want to thank the young people. We want to thank you, the audience. But last but not least, we want to give thanks to our Heavenly Father. For without Him, none of this would be possible. And we ask for these things in His love and holy name. Amen and good night.
Thank you, Tapu. I would have forgotten to ask our wives to stand up if it weren't for you. Can you please recognize? And really, it's only appropriate that we ask my cousin Talawenga's wife to also stand. So all of you know it's a small island. And E.O. Wallo and I would like to ask the audience to please applause for our candidates here. Thank you, Chamber of Commerce, for continuing to be a marketing vehicle for businesses in American Samoa. And thank you for providing a platform for training. I especially enjoyed the training I would see for women so that they can become managers, because Wallo and I believe in gender equality. But the overriding theme tonight has been, what role can the Chamber of Commerce play in shaping government policy? For example, the bidding process was one of them. As a former teacher, I would like to invite the Chamber of Commerce, on behalf of the candidate for Governor of American Samoa, Wallo Fa'afetaitalia, to also work with education. Higher education plays a role, an important role, in preparing the workforce. But there is a lack of articulation between the workplace, between the businesses, and the curriculum in higher education. The same applies for high schools and elementary education. Chamber, go visit the elementary schools. Talk to them about business. Talk to them about what it means to become an entrepreneur. One of my wife's cousins happens to be married to a man from Fiji, and his brother once told me, you know what I did to teach my kid to become a businessman? I said, what? I would pay him to wash our car. That was a concept so foreign to me as a Samoan. We don't pay our kids, but this was his way. We have to come up with new and creative ways to encourage entrepreneurship in American Samoa. 3, 2, 1. One more thing. Together we can.
Great job. You know, I have a dream that one day we will have all women sitting up here acknowledging their husbands in the crowd. So thank you, wives, for being here and supporting your husbands. Tonight has been exceptional, and we're so grateful to each of you for coming here and expressing yourselves and allowing us as a business community to ask questions and to answer them wholeheartedly. In closing, it would be only appropriate to recite a scripture from the good word, correct? Amen? In Exodus chapter 3, verses 7 through 8, it says, "And the Lord said, I have surely seen the afflictions of my people, and have heard their cry by reason of their taskmasters, for I know their sorrows, and am come down to deliver them and to bring them up." God called Moses to lead his people out of bondage to prosperity, and I know that he will be involved in this next election. Each of us can change and affect the trajectory of this island through our vote, and I hope you are well informed by these gentlemen and these wonderful candidates here on our stage, and will go back and consider and be prayerful about your decision and to help us make American Samoa great again. Thank you very much. Thank you, candidates. We are so grateful. And on behalf of the Chamber of Commerce and Blue Sky, thank you so much for attending, and have a great night.
Wai loa tula walo whata whai, te luleu sa wale whaatino au, so leo mea nā pei o le au. Whakanata, o le fuia i resi, whakapena, so leo nahi au whengi.
Can we have the wives of our candidates to please come up here and take a picture with us as well?
I will never find a town